and welcome to this FPL video focusing on Game Week 7. We'll start off by reviewing Game Week 6 and the players who I had suggested to avoid, pick and take a risk on. Then we'll look at how my team did in Game Week 6 before moving on to this week's starting 11 and who I think will be the best players to avoid, pick and take a risk on for Game Week 7. So looking back at last week's suggestions, I had chosen to avoid Aguero because I was unsure if he'd play midweek in the Champions League and at the weekend, plus he was also carrying a knock. Turned out he did end up playing and grabbed a goal and 6 points, however I still felt like it was a sensible call and he only ended up playing 60 minutes anyway, so that one I was wrong. The player to pick was my captain as well, and that was Mo Salah. People had begun to lose faith in the Egyptian, but he went on to grab a goal and a clean sheet, earning 8 points for Game Week 6 and 16 points for me. My player to risk on last week was James Maddison, who I actually claimed would have bagged you at least 6 points. Turned out he picked up 8 points, so 2 out of 3 is not too bad. As for my team, unfortunately none of my free hit chip players made an impact. Fernandinho, Schürrle, Mane, Lukaku, Joselu and Pereira all came into the squad for 1 week only, and Mane was the highest scorer that I had with 3 points. Overall I took 58 points, which was slightly above average, and that keeps me in the top 350,000 players, and again it was points from defence and a good captain's performance that gave me a respectable score, with 26 points coming from my back three. Moving on to the lineup for Game Week 7, and in goal remains Ben Foster, who'll probably be there for most of the season. We are going with a back three this week with Wan-Bissaka, Mendy and Alonso lining up there. We have a 5-man midfield with Jorginho, Hazard, Moura, Salah and Walcott in the side. And this week has 2 up top with Callum Wilson and Captain Aguero leading the front line. So this week sees 3 at the back with Mendy, of course a huge doubt, something's wrong with his bone apparently. However, I had to complete the Mkhitaryan for Lucas Moura transfer this week. Last week he didn't register for some reason, and I didn't want to lose 4 points because if Mendy doesn't play, then Bennett will come into the side ahead of Alexander-Arnold, and with Wolves facing Southampton at home, and with them playing so well against Manchester United in Game Week 6, I'm going to put some faith in Bennett. This also buys me time for next week where we can learn the extent of Mendy's injury and I'll have a better idea whether or not to keep him in the side or not. This week does look like it could be a tough one for me though, with a lot of my players playing against each other as Liverpool head to Stamford Bridge to play Chelsea. So it could be up to the other players to make up the main bulk of my points this week. So moving on to the players to avoid, pick and take a risk on this week. A popular player to avoid this week for me is Liverpool's Robertson. The left back has been in great form this season. However, I don't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet at the Bridge, and Robertson might be pegged back more than he's used to, with Chelsea being very threatening down the wings, and I don't see him playing as high up the pitch as we have seen him so far this season. My player to pick this week is Raheem Sterling. City at home are almost unplayable, and despite Brighton fighting back a few times already this season, they are prone to conceding goals, and if City get one early on, that could get their blood up and lead them to getting a few goals against Brighton. The only risk here is what I call Pep Bingo or Pep Roulette, when he decides to just rest a random key player for no particular reason. But if Sterling plays, I imagine he'll be getting an assist or at the very least a goal or an assist. Finally, my player to take a gamble on this week is Watford's Troy Deeney. Valued at 6.1 million, he's a cheap striker, but people may be surprised by this because Watford are away to Arsenal, and Arsenal are improving under Unai Emery. However, Troy Deeney loves playing against Arsenal, and Watford have looked very disciplined and pretty good this season, and they could frustrate Arsenal, and Troy Deeney especially loves to get in the faces of the Arsenal players, famously claiming that they don't have the cojones, and with only 2 minutes missed all season, he will be Watford's battering ram for 90 minutes and will cause the Arsenal defence a huge headache. I hope you enjoyed this FPL video. How is your team shaping up this week? What transfers have you made and who are you looking to pick and avoid for Game Week 7? Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good one.